Okay, so today I've been asked to discuss the following. How do people budget bathroom remodeling and save money? What is a realistic timeline for a home renovation project? And should I hire an architect for my house renovation? So I'll go through all three, and then if you have any questions, we'll answer them at the end. Okay. So the first one, how do people budget bathroom? So the average 5x7 bathroom, if you hire a contractor, generally runs between $22,000 and $25,000, including all the material. So to save money, there's a couple different ways you can do it. One of them is to plan way ahead, list all the materials you need as far as finishing materials, cabinets, plumbing fixtures, tile. Keep an eye out at all the building centers, see when they have sales, buy those materials, store them, and then when you're ready to go, either do it yourself or hire a general contractor to do the renovation for you. The other thing you can do to save money is called sweat equity. If you're handy, the things that you can do to save money are the demolition and removal of your bathroom. Now to do that, you'd have to hire a bin, put the bin in the driveway, demo the bathroom. You'll save yourself about $2,500 from a general contractor fee to do the demolition. You have to be very careful when you're doing the demolition because you don't want to damage the piping, you don't want to touch any of the electrical. If you decide to do the entire project on your own, the two items that you should not do on your own is the plumbing and the electrical. Because you should hire licensed plumbers and licensed electricians to do that. Make sure that they're WSIB compliant, because if they injure themselves in your home and they're not WSIB compliant, you could be liable for their injury. Also make sure that they're licensed and their license is current. And you can ask them for the license and you can check online to see that they're current. Lastly, with the electrician, you should make sure that he gets an ESA permit. Now that's a permit that he gets online. He goes online to the ESA site, he punches in his license, puts in your address, presses a button, he's got his permit. Do not let an electrician do any work in your house without an ESA permit. Because if something happens in the bathroom that creates a fire and you have to claim insurance and they know that you did a renovation, they will ask you, did a licensed electrician do the renovation? And if they didn't and you did it yourself, they have every right to deny the claim. Now we've had experience with that where somebody had a fire in a basement in their kitchen and we do ESA permits all the time, and they had no issues. But if they would have done it on their own, there would have been a problem. Even changing one plug, do not do it on your own. Any questions on that one? No? Okay. Next question, what is a realistic timeline for a home renovation project? Okay, this is a really wide open question because since COVID, supply issues have become an issue. They are getting better, but there's still supply chain issues. When we do, as a general contractor, when we give somebody a timeline, we give them a timeline and then we add an extra 2 weeks and we tell them we're adding a couple extra weeks in case of supply chain problems. The way to avoid that is if you're doing a renovation, and let's say you're dealing with a contractor, what you should do, and what we do, is that we have our in-house purchasing, we have all the materials selected with our designer that we work with, which happens to be the lady sitting right there. And we pre-order all the material. Now what that does is that tightens up our timeline, because if you order material as you go, and then you find that there's no stock, your renovation is stopping. So you're best off investing the money to buy all the materials at the beginning, leave some space in your garage as a staging area, get all the material there first, and then start. That will help you with your timeline. The other issue that you have with timelines is that if you get a permit for your project, so let's say you're building a legal secondary suite in your basement, and you get a permit, the inspection process could impact your timeline. Because the way that the inspections work is that you cannot call for an inspection of a certain section of your project until that section is completely finished. You can't call the permit department and say, we're putting up all the framing and it'll be done by Thursday. They don't do that. You have to call them on Thursday and say it's done, because the inspector might be 2 streets away and come over right away, or it might take 3 days. And that stops your renovation. So whenever you get a permit, you have to keep in mind that the renovation is stopping and starting depending on the inspection process. Okay. If you plan your renovation properly and do everything that I've been discussing with you, it should be a smooth process. Now, the other thing that can be a hiccup in the renovation is the client or yourself changing your mind or wanting to do something else in the middle of the renovation. And you have to keep in mind that this is going to slow down the process as well. Okay. So you could say to your contractor, if you're hiring a contractor, you know what, I don't like this faucet that I chose, I want to choose another one. Okay, well, it's not here for 2 weeks. So there goes your timeline. It's out the door. The average bathroom takes between 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the complexity of the job. The average 5x7 bathroom can be done in 2 weeks if, after the demolition, the existing plumbing, the existing drain work is in good shape and you don't need any major work, 2 weeks. If some major work needs to be done, a bathroom renovation could take up to 4 weeks. Okay. Last question, should I hire an architect? Okay. If you're doing a bathroom renovation that what we call a re-and-re, which is ripping out everything and putting brand new fixtures back exactly where it's being done, the need of an architect, there's no real need for an architect, but as long as you hire licensed trades to make sure that it's done properly. We always recommend that when you do a larger project, hire an architect, make sure he has a BCIN number, and the process should be that the architect visits with you, does all the drawings, make sure that you have in writing how many revisions you can do to the drawings, because most architects will say you can have 2 or 3 revisions and then you're going to be dealing with additional cost. So the architect should also tell you how much the permit fees are in the city that you live in. Most architects do not take that fee to themselves. They ask you to pay it directly to your city. Okay. Now, you should also have the architect in his contract. If you're only dealing with an architect and you're being the contractor on your own, put in the contract that you ask him to visit the site at different times during the renovation to make sure that everything is being followed. If you're doing structural work, make sure you ask the architect if an engineer is involved in the project, because if you're removing, say, a load-bearing wall, or if you're doing major HVAC alterations, the questions you need to ask the architect is, am I going to get drawings from an HVAC engineer and from a structural engineer included in my project? Fees generally run for renovations with an architect. You're usually looking at about $4 to $5 a square foot is what they're going to charge you. Okay. But it's well worth the money, because with any renovation you should have a plan, you should have all the drawings, you should have all the selections, have everything done, chosen, and finalized before you break down a wall, before you put a shovel in the ground, before you do anything. Because to run on the fly just doesn't make any sense. You're much better off having a game plan and follow the game plan. Any questions? Yeah.
Maybe we go back to the permit. So,
sure.
Say you bring in an electrician to, say, move a plug. Right?
Yes.
Does the electrician file that permit?
Yes.
Or does a homeowner?
No. The electrician, the process is that the electrician will go on the ESA site. He will punch in his license. He will insert your address, and the permit is issued to him under his license. Now, the reason that's done also is that protects you, because that assures that the electrician is going to follow the code. Because if the inspector comes and sees that he didn't follow the code, that's going to be a mark against his license. And if he has too many marks, his license is in jeopardy. The way the electrical permit works is that there's two phases to the permit. There's the inspection for the rough electrical, meaning that when the walls are down, and if the electrician is putting, say, pot lights, moving a plug, the inspector comes to see the rough, meaning the wiring is done properly, he has the right junction boxes, everything. Then the final inspection is when the job is completely finished. The electrical inspector will come in, he'll test the plugs, he'll test the pot lights, make sure everything works. During the two processes, there'll be a certificate issued during the rough, which you should ask the electrician for a copy, and then you'll have a certificate on the finish. Again, ask him for a copy. Keep those copies with your house insurance in case there is a fire or a problem, because the insurance company may ask you for those certificates of passing of the inspection. Any other questions?
Any permit for plumbing?
I would do it. Yeah, I would get a permit for plumbing. If you're doing the bathroom yourself,
Yeah,
I would get a permit for the plumbing. The plumber can get that permit for you.
if we have a.
Yeah, yeah. It's always advisable that if you're doing it yourself, all the mechanical elements should have a permit. This way it's being done properly, it's following the prerequisites that need to be followed. Because a lot of trades, if they don't get a permit, they might try and do something that might not be 100%, but you want it 100%. So it's always better to spend a little bit extra money and get it done right, and not have an issue down the road. You're investing a lot of money, why not invest the extra few dollars and get it done properly? Yes?
I have a question about plumbing permits. Sorry, not permits, getting a plumber. So you said always get a plumber, right?
Yes.
As a rule of thumb, should I say like whatever's visible I can do myself, or whatever's hidden in the wall, get a plumber?
No, I would get a plumber to do everything.
Even like I want you to shower head.
Oh, no, you mean changing a shower head? No, that's, but I'm talking that installing a toilet, installing a full tub and shower set, installing the sinks with the proper trap, with the proper shut-off valves. Like, these are things that you should let them do, because it's better for you to spend the extra money, have the professional do it. It doesn't say that you wouldn't be able to do it on your own, but in my mind, it's always better to spend the extra money, because you can't be an expert at everything. Let the guy who does it for a living do it properly.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
So this is a little bit unrelated, but do you need any kind of license person to do insulation? Or
No.
it's just electrical and
Electrical, plumbing, HVAC.
HVAC?
So HVAC would be, if you're doing a bathroom, an exhaust vent for the bathroom. If you're doing a basement or something, you might need to change the trunks, make sure you have the cold air returns done. A lot of people like to do stuff on their own, but in reality, when you're doing a bigger project, and I know this is a DIY session, but when you're doing a bigger project, you should consider hiring somebody who does it for a living to do it properly. But if you feel that you can put some sweat equity into the job and do part of it on your own, in our experience, when we do basements, a lot of people will say, you know what, I'll paint the basement myself. Okay. Or I'll install the kitchen cabinets. Or I'm going to try putting in the flooring. But when it comes to the nuts and bolts of a project, the structural, the plumbing, the electrical, insulation, running the drain pipes under the cement in a basement, get a professional to do it. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Good morning, everyone. I see that you are really serious about your renovation project, because you came on this beautiful day. So yes, I call myself interior design therapist, because every single project that we do finishes with your going through various emotions and so on and so on. So I also got myself a diploma in psychology. So first of all, I would like to clear some things, even though it was not on the list what to discuss, but there was a topic, should I hire an architect? It is actually, there is some difference between architect and interior designer. So for interior project, you don't really need architect. You would need architect for additions, building a new home, and I was blessed when I finished my interior design program, architectural interior design program, start my practice in architect's office. So architect just pays attention and works on the structure, on exterior. They don't care how it's going to be inside. They don't select materials. They don't do anything like that. So if you're working on your interior project, bathroom, kitchen, anything what's interior, it's architectural interior designer. So you don't need architect. So who is planning renovation in near future? Oh, almost everyone. So a tips for the husband before you start renovation. Check your wife's mood and emotional state. Okay, so maybe you want, before you start that project, make her happy. Yeah. So husbands, wives now, if you want to get into renovation and you see that your home really needs that uplift in the kitchen and things like that, so make your favorite food for your husband. Once his tummy is full, start asking, throw in your ideas. And when you dream, you just say, oh, imagine how delicious food will be when we'll have this brand new kitchen. I'll be so motivated to cook for you even more delicious foods. So another thing, because I said I'm interior design therapist, I really suggest to find a serene, amazing place somewhere outside Canada, outsource a nice hotel, a resort, just release the control and go on vacation. And trust renovators, designers, and go on vacation, come back into newly renovated house or any space. And if you decided not to go, sign up for meditation, yoga, husband hit the gym and start practice if those emotional, some questions will rise up during the process. So also for the budget, go check your sock hidden under the sofa, how much you have for your renovation project, collected the money. And usually you have to add at least 20% for what you planning to spend on your renovation project. Okay, so let's get serious right now. So as Steve mentioned, and the question is, what should I consider when trying to remodel my living space? Prior you start, do as much research as possible. Do for yourself a programming. Do a programming, work out the budget. Find out your likes and dislikes, what you really like, what you really don't like. Also think what's most important for you in your lifestyle. Review property market, you can meet real estate, see the value of your house, how much is for you suggested to invest in renovation, that at the end you can, get back the money that you are investing. Also find a few contractors, builders, to get their suggestions, how much more or less the renovation project would cost. Check also if there are some restrictions. And also, like I was mentioning, allow yourself extra budget, at least 20%. It is important to say goodbye to the control, because this is the process that when we start renovating the place, majority for most of us, it's really hard to release something that we see every day. We get emotional that this is there, I don't want to change. When we start moving things, it starts disturbing your physical body, as I'm saying as a psychologist, because it's all connected. So also, it is really important to take recommendations of professionals, because we as a professionals, we do it 24/7. So if you receive recommendations from your mother-in-law, your sister, your neighbor, it's not, if it's not their profession, you know, take the recommendations of the professionals. And it is important to get yourself emotionally ready that it's gonna be messy and you will have to live through it. That's why at the beginning I said, you know, it's really great to go on vacation and give that space to, you know, to come back in a clean space. And in the process, usually, even though it's DIY here, to DIY, it's ideally only research and prepare your likes and dislikes list, if to summary. And at the end, if you get emotional, it's really important to stay on the end picture, how it's going to look. But in DIY process, as Steve mentioned, is ideally suggested, you know, you can perform your demolition stage. What else you consider? Yes, those, yeah, at the first stages, talk first to the professionals. And I would suggest rather raise the hours in your field that you are good in than, you know, doing yourself renovation project that you don't do it every day. It's gonna cost at the end more money. It's gonna cost more, you know, dissatisfactions. You will not be happy at the end project, because always, 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 you always can see that touch, the magic touch of contractor, of designer, and actually you save more money and time by hiring a professional to do it. But yes, some things are great. The more you prepare, the easier the project will go. So what colors increase a home's value? Before that, if you do have questions, what to prepare? Google search is amazing designer and architect to answer many questions also, but to speak physically to professional is very, very important, because sometimes we'll go over here that I have few notes that Google search suggests, that also I suggest not to do it, like paint the house also, that Steve said. You know, it's gonna take also more time and so on. So what colors increase home values? Colors that makes you happy, but don't paint the walls with the colors that you like. So generally, all neutral colors, always in fashion, always in trend. And what you can do, if you like your favorite colors, if you love certain colors, add in decor. Pillows, art, and things like that. Those would make you happy. And when the time comes to sell what is in trend here in Canada, you can easily remove your personal things, and you have the home that is presentable and so on. Yes, this is one of all our projects actually, and yeah. Oh, it's mine. No, it's mine. Yeah, so we are a team. So what are again? There are some colors that if you want you can write down, but there is a forbidding black, tree green, citrusy green, This actually, what I named, is not suggested to use in interiors. Like anything that is very bright, very bold on the walls, that has lime colors and things like that, don't use them. So for whites, Benjamin Moore, simply white, or ceiling would be just ceiling white. It's always in trend. It's always lifts up your ceiling. It's especially when we are living in a season where we have these falls, winters, and all of that. It's better to use more lighter colors. It's also from the Bear Snowfall. Benjamin Moore Swish Coffee is also good for whites, and neutrals for again for your walls. It's ideally to use a couple tones of neutrals that still we are in a fashion of grayish colors. It's not cool gray anymore, even though we can really, really nicely mix, like as an accent somewhere, maybe a charcoal gray with some taupe gray. That would give that rich, wealthy look to the interior, and it's easy for resale. But even if you go for, if you don't want, to hire a decorator, a designer, any Benjamin Moore store, they have a beautiful professionals that work. They will really help you free of cost to select the color, the neutral color for your interiors. What else interesting here about, yes, especially first floor, open space, you can use just one shade, lighter or darker, the colors for interiors. As you see, all neutrals are here. This is the latest trend, woods that we use. This you can visit after my showroom later on if you have more questions. So for what else interesting? So which color should you choose? There is Wallspar smoked oyster, Sherwin-Williams agreeable gray, Benjamin Moore cedar K, Sherwin-Williams repose gray, Benjamin Moore gray owl, Benjamin Moore anonymous. All these neutral colors really great for the interiors. And another question we had here, what are the most popular colors for interior renovation? Same thing. It is still, we are in grayish. And usually if you, let's say, selecting tiles or any other material, we take inspiration from those materials and continue on the walls. The next question. So what things can lower the cost of home renovation? I always say, I don't want to advertise myself or anyone else, but really consider hiring a professional, because first of all, it's gonna save time. When we have an interior designer or renovators, you really have clearly set, how to say, a vision board, how your project is gonna go. And then interior designer actually can help you to save the money by directing where to buy things. You don't have to travel all over the city to find specific materials. And then we have these amazing programs like 3D visuals. You don't need to guess how your space is going to look. We present in beautiful 3Ds how exactly your space is going to look. And where you can save on the material. Because as we know, we have cars, we have what? Toyota, and we have Lexus. Same in materials. We can choose the materials that are more less expensive instead of more expensive, instead better Caesar stone than marble. So again, determining your style, the designer can help you to solve all the problems, I would say, and have a clear vision. Even for myself, doing my own renovations for my own homes, I prepare 3D visuals because it's like a vision board. You see that final product, how it's going to look. And yes, as Steve said, if you want really to save, then hire a professional contractor that is gonna rip everything out, and you go and maybe they help you to select the materials, and you're done. But just don't do it yourself. Oh my goodness, I'm demolishing this table already. Yes, any questions? I'll be here, and you can visit my showroom 81-124 if you're interested, so you can make nice dinners, make each other happy, set a good mood for your next project, that the good beginning is already a good end. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Galib, and I'm a flooring expert. We're on business flooring. I will be talking majority of my presentation for flooring and stairs and railing. There's a lot of topics that Steve have covered. That I will go over it a little more. So the first, we start with how to save money on flooring renovation. Steve have covered some of them, but demolishing is one of the main things to do yourself. That would save you a lot of money, specifically in flooring. Removing of flooring will cost a quite high amount of money as well. Preparing subfloors, when you remove the flooring, sometimes you will have some squeaks, you will have some mold on the plywood and stuff like that. Those can be fixed by homeowners by screwing down subfloors, by preparing the floors to be ready for a contractor to come and install it. Furniture is a big thing as well. Usually contractors does not like to do jobs that has a lot of furniture. So if homeowners can move furnitures here and there, would save them money and would make the job way better with less headaches for everybody. Since the contractors, when they come to a job and they find it all empty, it will make them feel better about the job. And furniture, you do not have to take them outside the house. Usually what we do, when I take a job, for example, a couple bedrooms with a hallway upstairs and some of the main floors, since contractors cannot go as fast as homeowners sometimes think, so an average installer can install a day 300 square feet to 350. We're talking solid floors or any hard surfaces, not tiles and stuff. Tiles probably a max of 75 square feet or 100 square feet a day if it's a residential job. So then we say if it's 300 to 400 square feet, so usually the first day of the job, in terms of moving furnitures and stuff, customers has to empty, for example, the main hallway, which is where we always start the job, and one bedroom, for example. And then when we finish, in any solid floors, since you can step on it right away, it's not like tiles or anything, you can, as long as we leave the job, you can return all the furniture and you empty another bedroom, bedroom by bedroom, and then you can work it on with the contractors. I'll be depending on your questions more than why I need any technical stuff or anything. What are some floor or stairs reno projects that need to be left to the pros and can't be DIY? Well, in the flooring industry, any floating floor, I would say contractors can, homeowners can do. Any floating floors, which means any floors that can be clicked in, such as laminate, vinyls, even engineered floors. It comes in click flooring. Since click floors, you cannot install it wrong. It has very minor rules, the pattern that you have to run it, and it's usually done for you by the length of the pieces in the boxes, and you cannot click it on wrong. It would not click with you not properly. So either you install it properly, or it's not gonna work for you. Click floors will save you a lot on install. Nail down floors, usually the tools for it is a little expensive for a homeowner to have, except if you have the tools and if the rooms are quite close, like there is walls and stuff, as long as it doesn't involve. Sometimes when you're doing a solid floors or any floating floors, that when you get to a point you're installing up to the hallway of the house and you get up to a rail. It's a little difficult for a homeowner to do it because you have to remove rails, you have to fix the nosings, you have to fix the tripping edges over so it involves a lot of work. This would need a contractor to do it more. So as we said, floating floors, laminate or vinyl, very easy to do, and you can do it yourself too. And moldings, since when you finish the floors as well, moldings such as baseboard, quarter round, stuff like that, or shoe mold that you put, can be done as well it's very easy to do anyway. Can you install hardwood floors yourself? Basically, yes, you can do anything. But hardwood floors, usually to do it, you would have a specific code for nailing, like you nail every 6 inches. Sometimes homeowners, they think that if I nail too much floors, or if I put way too much screws into the subfloor, would help me and less squeaks and stuff like that. Which is actually, for example, if you have a plywood and you want to lower the squeaks in the house, if you screw down plywood, basically you have to screw it down into the studs every 6 inch. If you put every 3 inches, for example, it will lead into squeaks more nails. It does not mean it helps a lot more. And installing hardwood floors as well, you need to nail it as well every 6 inches. So putting too much nails and stuff like that would ruin the floor more than what it is. And hardwood floors are pretty expensive to fix. It's not something that, like, if you have a mistake in the middle of the room, you cannot, every piece you remove to fix it, you have to remove from the piece in the middle up to the nearest wall, remove the baseboard, take everything out, and you cannot reinstall it back. Since it's nailed, it's damaged. Difference is in floating floor, for example. Floating floor, sometimes you remove it, and if you remove it in pattern to fix anything to the floor, say you installed, you finished the job, everything, and you find that they're damaged or there is a piece unclicked in the middle of the floor, you would remove it by removing to the closest wall. If you move it carefully, majority of the pieces you can reuse. You probably need a couple of square feet more. And if you remove it in pattern, you can see where the pieces are cut and everything to replace it. So hardwood floors, I recommend more to have a contractor, since it needs the tools that it needs as a table saw or a circular saw or miter saws and stuff like that. It's a little expensive to buy or to rent to work for it. This was covered by Steve. How do you make up a half an inch difference in flooring? It's a very technical question, but I will go over it quick. To cover up, say for example, like nowadays, and I know no homeowner like any difference height in between the rooms. Like for example, you have carpet in one of the bedrooms and you have hardwood in the hallway. Nobody likes that step up that you need to walk every time you hit your toe into it and stuff like that. So now, how to cover those height differences? And the expensive way of covering it, you install plywood, you raise whatever you want, or you lower you remove whatever you can remove. But for example, you install hardwood everywhere, which is 3/4 of an inch. Basically, that's the standard size of hardwood floors. And you get up to a washroom, and the washroom tiles, most likely it's 1/2 inch. How do you cover that up? Like hardwood, okay, when the tiles is higher, you can put plywood and raise it up, it will work for you. But if the tiles is lower and you need to lower the thickness of the hardwood, basically in any nail down floors, it does not work in floating floors. Since floating floors, you cannot touch or sand or lower the thickness of it because you will ruin the click, would not click with you. In solid floors, there's a technique that's called a custom flush molding. Custom flush molding that when you come up to a tile and the wood is 3/4 of an inch and you want to lower it to 1/2 inch, you flip the piece to the back and you sand it in a way that goes gradually down. So the side that is going to be clicked to the other hardwood will stay 3/4, and the side to the tile will be 1/2 inch. And that piece, basically, you would nail it from the top and you glue it down, and it will sit forever. What is the easiest flooring to install yourself? We went over it. What are the requirements for a good floor finish? In flooring, the finishes in flooring would be the main thing that will make you might choose a very expensive wood. You install it very good and everything is nice. You choose the wrong molding or you choose the wrong vents as well. Sometimes it will ruin the whole look of it. So choosing a right molding as baseboard and shoe molds and fixing up all the holes that you have. You do the caulking pretty good. The painting of the baseboard are done very well. This would help you a lot and it will make the project look way better than it was supposed to do. And screwing down soft floors, this is an issue that you cannot fix after you finish your floors. Usually baseboards, if you do any mistakes or anything from the surface, from the top, any problem you have, you basically can't fix it. And it's not costing much. But if you have any problem with subfloors, it's super difficult. You need to remove and refix everything to put it back. So screwing down subfloor properly, filling up the nail holes when you finish the job, fixing the baseboard, putting proper designs and stuff, and designs like those finishes would help you a lot in the nice looks of the floor. And in terms of stairs, it's not covered over here, but I would say in stairs, usually it's a very expensive job to do. Stairs and railing are pretty costly. Very difficult for a homeowner to do. Basically, I've been doing this job for almost 11 years. Myself, I know all the technical stuff. I can tell you how to do it step by step, but come give me the tools, I would never know how to do. Putting rails or putting the spindles is a little of a safety hazard stuff, and it has coding by installing them. Like for example, in railing, you have to have it every 4 inches gaps, and so any babies or anything cannot fall down. So a lot of technical stuff, and it's safety-wise as well. Falling up the stairs is not the nicest thing to be. But stairs, it involves sanding, involves staining, involves custom cuts. It's difficult, but there is steps that can be installed by homeowners. It's not very easy, but it's easy to do. Nowadays, you can see in the market there is a lot of steps that we'll say it another way. Any steps or any stairs that you have in the house that comes in between 2 walls, that it doesn't have any handrails or any spindles into it. So it doesn't involve drilling, it doesn't involve any safety or anything. Usually the basement stairs, it comes 2 stringers on the side and the step is just inside, or the railing would be on the stringer. So you're not touching any rail. Basically, we'll say anything you're not touching the rail, you can do it yourself. Steps that has only step and riser, you can buy it. It's already done for you, a full step with the cap, with the riser. And it's not expensive. Material of stairs are very, very, very low priced. They install, like for example, if the stairs material costs $2,000, the installation of it will cost $6,000 or $5,000 to do it, and it takes about 5 to 6 days to finish. But a closed steps, you can buy a full step. You cut it in shape, you just put it, and you sand it and stain it. This if we're talking about hardwood steps. But nowadays there is vinyl steps, there is laminate steps or accessories that comes already finished for you. So you choose the laminate, you can choose their own steps for them as well. But these steps, you cannot install them on any open steps. Open steps, which means it has a railing on either side, because you cannot drill into them. So any closed steps, you can just, as well, you get it. It will be usually way longer than what your steps are. You just cut it in length, in width. PL glue, you put some weight onto it, and you're done with it. And that's pretty much it for me. If you have any question, any technical stuff, let me know. Yes, Garcia.
If I wanted to do floating floors in a kitchen, would you recommend laminate or vinyl, or is there no difference nowadays?
Well, it depends on how much cooking it happens in the house. Vinyl definitely nowadays is coming way better into the kitchen since vinyl, it's a fully waterproof floors. So any dripping or anything that happens into it, it has a very hard surface to have. But the disadvantages of vinyl, since working in the kitchen usually is barefoot and stuff, vinyl, it's a very nice material. It's super hard to dent, super hard to scratch. Almost impossible to dent, by the way, and very hard to scratch. And it's fully waterproof. Even if you have a flood, it does not matter. You can the floor would unclick, you would just need to reinstall it, but the material would stay the same. So on a longer term, you always have it as a perfect floor. But vinyl, the disadvantage on it is that it's cold on the floor. A little cold, and it's hard. It doesn't have that wood feeling that you walk into it. It's not cozy into the foot. So anything drops into vinyl, for example, if a cup of glass falls down, it might break on vinyl. On laminate, it has that bounciness thing. But laminate, it's water resistant. Majority of laminates nowadays are high water resistance. I see a lot of and I do have them in my showroom actually, a lot of laminate that would say they are waterproof. There is no such laminate as waterproof. Waterproof, there is nothing. If you have an excessive amount of water on top of the laminate and it absorbs it, it's gonna swallow and damage, no matter what. I've tested majority of them. But there is some of them are very high resistant for water, which is you can install them into the kitchen. But when you think about renovation, I usually say a flood or a leak is, in our industry, specifically into flooring, when you get to that situation, you're into trouble. you would need a major thing. But vinyl are what people are going with right now. I think vinyl would be a little warm and a little flex. And since laminate, usually people used to go with laminate there because the cost was way different. Nowadays, by the way, laminate and vinyl are almost into the same cost. Vinyl is probably 1.5 more than laminate. And in kitchens, there's a very good step that you would need to know that any floating floors, it doesn't have to be any engineered laminate or vinyl. When you install it, you cannot install it under any cabinets. If you install floating floors under the cabinets, you would face an issue on expansion, which means it will gap or will buckle. Not maybe, 100% it will happen. Any heavy material, any heavy items or any heavy cabinets that are screwed to the floor, that you force the floor not to expand, because floors usually with weather it will absorb. Floors usually is like a sponge. When you put moisture into it, it expands in size, and when you remove the water out of it, it shrinks. Then it has to have that movement into it. If you force it not to move, the piece is gonna try to push to gap or to buckle or to do its own movement. It cannot, because you force it with a kitchen cabinet or with a very heavy island not like this.
So would it be best if you have the cabinets in already, then you put the flooring down?
Yes, that's what we usually do. We install the cabinets. If you're doing floating floors, we're talking only floating floors. If you're doing any nail down, it does not matter. What we do, we install the cabinets, we remove the kick plates out.
Okay.
And then you install the floors, like this, a kick plates over here. You install the floor, you remove the kick plate,
Yeah.
and then you go inside a couple inches. And then you put your kick plates. It looks as if you installed the kitchen cabinet on top of it, but it's not on top of it. But do not install kitchen cabinets on top, or any heavy materials on top of floating floors. Thank you.
Thank you.